What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back with another week of NFL Best Bets here in the 2021 NFL playoffs. It's Championship Sunday, the AFC Championship, the NFC Championship, breaking down each game, giving you my pick versus the spread, which side that I like more in each conference championship game. Before I give you my thoughts, my breakdown, and my preview of each game, I do want to say that you should be subscribing to the Patreon for more bets, for my bets every week in the NFL, and for all the information you need to win money on the NFL this season or next season. The Super Bowl is coming up, so there's no better time to subscribe to that Patreon and get exclusive content on the NFL on my Patreon. You can also help me out and help the channel out by becoming a TheBottomLineView patron. Before I break down the AFC Championship and the NFC Championship, make sure you do spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for best bets in the NFL each and every week, as well as NFL content all year long, breaking down every aspect of pro football. My record last week in the divisional round, 3-1. We hit at 75%. I pretty much nailed those games. I was a bit off on the Rams and the Packers game, but otherwise 3 for 3, and we're looking to go 2 for 2 this weekend for the AFC and NFC Championship games. Overall, my record, 23-16-1 overall over the course of these picks throughout the season, and we've been pretty solid as well during these playoffs. It's important to note that these games, once again, are rematches. Actually, they're both rematches of the same week during this NFL season. Week 6, both rematches of Week 6. So I wanted to come up with a stat for you to understand what happens when rematches happen in the AFC and NFC Championship games. Well, history would suggest that the team that wins the first game during the regular season is 7-2 when they play in the AFC or NFC Championship game. So on Conference Championship weekend, Conference Championship Sunday, the teams that won during the regular season typically win more often to get to the Super Bowl. Now let's kick off with the game that I have less of a strong feeling about. I probably personally won't be betting on this game, or if I do, it won't be as strongly as I bet on the other game. This one's a little bit lower on the confidence scale, and that's why I have it first. It's the AFC Championship game between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And in this game, I'm certainly leaning towards the Buffalo Bills. So I would take the Buffalo Bills plus 2.5. Now, if you want to just strictly take the money line, that might even be the better play here. I know that some people might be looking to take Kansas City's money line, or maybe Kansas City to cover the 2.5. Maybe if it gets out to 3, that's when you would take Buffalo here. But personally, I'd probably just bet the Buffalo money line if you feel strongly enough of taking them in this game. Let's start off with what happened in the first game. I think if you bet on the Bills, you need to understand what happened in Week 6 to understand how they can overcome their loss from the first matchup. And it all starts with the health of their actual team, their roster. In Week 6, they were missing 3 key players in that game that are absolutely crucial to their success, both offensively, but more specifically defensively. First, you have guard John Feliciano, who is a starter for them. He is very key in communication and their protection up front. And in that game, we saw the Chiefs kind of uncharacteristically blitz Josh Allen a lot. And that was kind of before Josh Allen went on this hot streak of just carving up the blitz, where he ended up being the best quarterback this year versus the blitz. And we saw a glimpse of that versus Baltimore last week, although the weather did affect that, and the weather could affect it once again. So Kansas City could have maybe a little success blitzing, but I expect less so because Feliciano is back in the lineup and because the weather probably won't be as crazy wind and won't have such a big factor. The rain won't be as crazy as it was in week 6 or last week versus Baltimore. Now, defensively, 2 players that stand out to me. Matt Milano, a player that is not known on the mainstream level, but he is, in my opinion, the best linebacker on Buffalo. What he does, his versatility, his ability to cover in space, his intelligence, his tackling ability, his ability to stuff the run, all around a complete linebacker that is crucial to the middle of the field. And we know that Sean McDermott, he is all about his linebackers, right? He came from Carolina with Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis. His scheme, a lot of it has to do with those linebackers flying around the field, those linebackers making plays in coverage and the run game. So Matt Milano is more important to this defense than he would to a lot of other defenses in the NFL. Lastly, you have Levi Wallace, who is one of the top 3 talents at the corner position on Buffalo. He did not suit up in that first matchup. And we know that you need as many corners as you can get versus Kansas City. And when you don't have your starting corners out there, it also tends to make a defensive coach play more vanilla defense. They're not going to be as elaborate. And that's really where I go with this in this game. When thinking about this game, you have 2 powerhouse offenses. You have 2 offenses with 2 amazing quarterbacks who make plays with their big right arm and extend plays with their feet. But my question is, which defense is more well-equipped, not necessarily better, but more equipped to defend the opposing offense? And while I am a fan of Kansas City's defense, they've come up clutch in a number of moments, I look at Buffalo's defense and I specifically say they have the personnel to at least slow down Kansas City and play a style that I think can stifle the Chiefs in what they do best, which is the deep passing game. Buffalo is a primarily heavy zone coverage team. They have phenomenal safeties. They have great corners. Tre'Davious White, Josh Norman, the veteran. Of course, you have Levi Wallace. We saw Johnson take a pick 6 to the house. We saw, of course, Poyer, Hyde, these 2 at the safety position, and then the linebackers underneath with Milano, who I mentioned, Edmonds, who I mentioned. These guys are fast, they're intelligent, they fly around the field, they make plays, and the biggest thing with them is communication. They're a very tight unit in terms of their coverage. They rarely make mistakes, and those things are all crucial to defending the Kansas City Chiefs offense. They will not be thrown off by any look the Chiefs give them, and I feel they can pull off a elaborate defense that Sean McDermott could scheme up during the course of this week. Sean McDermott is at his best scheming game-to-game game plans, game-specific game plans, if you will, for opponents, for opposing offenses. And I believe this is a defense that can pull it off in that secondary where they're strong, and then in the front where they're very athletic. They're not fantastic. They don't have a lot of Pro Bowlers or All Pros. Now, you do have to look out for Jerry Hughes, who had multiple sacks last week. He's an awesome player, but they have athletes. And when you have athletes versus Mahomes, it's important because you can track him down. You can chase him down, whether he's scrambling, he's running to the right, running to the left, escaping the pocket, or just generally moving around. It's important to have those guys. It's also important to have athletes at linebacker and defensive end on Buffalo, because when you have all those jet sweeps and those jet motions and the horizontal offense of Kansas City, you need speed, and Buffalo has speed to defend Kansas City. So they not only have a great defensive coach, 2 of them in fact, with Leslie Frazier as well as Sean McDermott, and then they have a great secondary and a very athletic front. These are all things that can come in handy to play Kansas City and ultimately slow them down. Now, the thing that we saw in the first matchup that was absolutely the backbreaker for Buffalo is they could not defend the run to save their absolute lives. And a lot of light boxes. Buffalo said, you know, we're going to concede the run. We're going to take the ball out of Mahomes' hands. We're going to concede the run. And that was actually the game this season where Kansas City ran the most this year. The highest percentage of runs this year. Don't expect that to happen again. They won't run the ball as much, but I think when they do, Buffalo is better right now thanks to having some players back like Matt Milano, as well as just generally being better in run defense as of late to defend the run when Kansas City does it so that they're not getting absolutely gashed when they do go light boxes to defend the pass attack of the Chiefs. But ultimately, this game comes down to offense. And while I believe in Buffalo's defense to play above their heads in this one matchup this week versus Mahomes, I think this game comes down to the ability of one Josh Allen. My boy Blue is going to step up here. Josh Allen is an incredible playmaker. Of course, we know he was an MVP candidate, but I think the skill that's going to come in handy here for Josh Allen is his feet. His ability to run specifically in short yardage and in the red zone. Those are two areas where the Bills have an advantage in this game. The Chiefs have struggled as of late in the red zone, ranking kind of average in that area, while Buffalo over the last 3 games ranks as the number 1 red zone offense. So Buffalo has been scoring when they get the chance, and Kansas City, they've been kicking field goals. In a game this close between two close teams, that could be the difference. As well as short yardage, where Kansas City in 2020 ranked as the worst short yardage offense and the worst short yardage defense. It's weird to hear that, but in a game such as this, where maybe your passing attack isn't as great, it's definitely going to hurt if you can't convert on the ground and 4th and 1s, 3rd and 2s, and things of that nature, while Josh Allen's feet gives him the advantage. Lastly, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is hurt, and I do really have my concerns about whether Patrick Mahomes is going to be at 100% in this game, not specifically because of the head and the concussion, but about the foot, man. I don't know if he's going to be able to push off and scramble and move the way that he is used to moving, especially in the second half when it wears on him and play after play and rep after rep. That is where his mobility could be maybe not at that elite level, and Josh Allen's ability to move and improvise outdoes Patrick Mahomes' greatest ability. So the Bills, last time they went to the Super Bowl, they beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. I'm riding with history here, and I'm going with the Bills. The game I have the most confidence in, the side that I have the most confidence in this weekend, is in the NFC Championship, and it is the road team. It is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling on the road to Lambeau, the historic Lambeau Field, to take on Aaron Rodgers, the MVP, and the Green Bay Packers. I'm taking the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 3.5 or plus 3, depending on where you can get it, in the NFC Championship game. Now remember that stat, 7-2 teams in rematches in the conference championship round. I think people are underrating the matchup earlier in the year. I believe that actually does have some credence. I think there is something to that game. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be 38-10. I'm not saying Green Bay is going to roll out and play the same or not adjust. No. Green Bay will adjust. They'll play a better game. This game will be much tighter. All of that stuff. But there are things you can take away from that game. I want to bring up some stats and some history to back up this claim. Aaron Rodgers typically struggles versus teams in the playoffs that he struggled against in the regular season. Aaron Rodgers is 2-7 versus teams that he lost to in the regular season when he plays them in the playoffs. And I believe 3 of those games were in the conference championship, all on the road, but still in the conference championship round. Tom Brady, on the other hand, has a history of eliminating NFL MVPs, which everybody believes Aaron Rodgers is going to be at this point. It's basically locked and loaded. Tom Brady has eliminated 7 MVPs throughout the course of his career in the playoffs. He is 7-1 versus MVPs throughout the course of his playoff career. Now, some other stats to think about when betting on this game and taking the side here is, do you think the Bucs will score? Because when Tampa Bay scores a lot of points, they win, obviously, right? But there's a specific number. When the Tampa Bay Buccaneers score more than 24 points, 25 plus points, they are 13-0 this season. They are nearly unbeatable this year when Tampa Bay scores over 24. They have not lost a single game. Now, every game that the Bucs have lost, they have failed to score 24, right? More than 24. 0-5. So how many points do you think the Bucs put up? Do you think they score in this game? Do you think they move the football? Do you think Brady has success? If you do, lean towards the Bucs. If you don't, lean towards the Packers. Now, another stat for looking to bet on the Packers or not would be the success of the rushing attack of the opponent. Green Bay loses when the other team runs the football effectively. Green Bay has allowed 140 plus yards in all 3 of their losses on the ground. I said that was a key to the Rams winning this game. They weren't able to quite get there. They ran for 90 yards, for 5 yards a clip, but their defense didn't hold their end of the bargain, and the game kind of got out of hand to the point where Jared Goff had to throw the ball. He was forced into throwing the football. Tampa Bay is unlike any other team Green Bay has played all year in terms of they are a bad matchup for the Packers on both lines of scrimmage. Tampa Bay is much bigger. Their size, their toughness, their physicality is going to be a major issue for Green Bay. And this is what I was talking about with taking something from week 6. Green Bay simply does not have the size to match up on both lines of scrimmage on offense and on defense. Tampa Bay has a massive offensive line. They ran successfully in the first matchup with Ronald Jones having over 100 yards. On defense, they sacked Rodgers, they blitzed him, they got after him, and they defeated the Green Bay awesome rushing attack. Aaron Jones was barely averaging a yard per carry in that contest. Again, Cam Akers had 5 yards a carry. And that is when you're playing a Rams team who you know is limited at quarterback with a guy with a broken thumb. You know that they don't have Cooper Kupp. They don't have any deep threats. They're not throwing the ball down the field. And you still allow 5 yards a carry. That's not good news when you're playing a team like Tampa who just ran on one of the best run defenses in the league. And Green Bay just doesn't like to load the box because they like to play the pass. And I feel like they're in a bind in this matchup. They can't both take away Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, and all these deep threats and wide receivers of Tom Brady and play 2 deep shells while also defending the run and putting guys in the box to handle Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. So that means to me that Tampa Bay will have success running the ball 5 yards, 6 yards, 4 yards a clip each and every time with Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones, who have both played very well, especially last week versus New Orleans. And they ran the ball versus New Orleans. This is a main factor why they won that football game. I believe this will be a big personnel game for Tampa Bay because they want Green Bay to try to match them there. They want Green Bay to send the extra linebacker out there because that's where Green Bay is weak. So that means Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate at tight end, Leonard Fournette out of the backfield. These guys, it's not the big names you think about. It's not Mike Evans. It's not Chris Godwin. But these guys could be key to the passing attack on play action specifically. Once Green Bay has a feel that Tampa wants to run the ball, they're going to come up, try to defend that run, and that's where the big plays are going to be had for Tom Brady and this passing attack, in my opinion. Now, on the flip side, I think an underrated aspect of Green Bay's success offensively and Aaron Rodgers' success has been both play action and the ability to run the football. I think last week they didn't win it strictly based on Aaron Rodgers' right arm. They won it because they ran the ball well. They ran it for over 180 yards. Over 180 yards versus the LA Rams without Aaron Donald for a majority of that game. They will not do that versus Tampa Bay. If they do, I'll be shocked. Firstly, because Tampa Bay is the best run defense in the NFL by over 10 yards per game. They have been the last 2 years. They have a great front with fast linebackers that can defeat this zone system of Green Bay. They have big guys in the middle with Ndamukong Suh and Golston. They have great edge players, Shaq Barrett and JPP, and they might be getting back Maybe their best defensive lineman, Vita Vea, who in my opinion is the best all-around nose tackle in the NFL today. This to me means if the Bucs can stop the run on early downs, force Aaron Rodgers into many of the same situations he was in week 6, this is a team that can effectively defeat the weakness of the offensive line of Green Bay, which is the tackle position. A lot of the reason why the tackle position and not having David Bakhtiari hasn't mattered is because Green Bay has been very efficient on early downs. But if they're not able to run the ball the way they're used to, and they're stuck in 3rd and longs, Shaq Barrett, JPP, and Todd Bowles' blitzes will have success in this game when it matters most, on 3rd down. So overall, I feel that the front of the offensive line of Tampa, the defensive line of Tampa, will win this game. It won't really come down to the quarterbacks as much as you may think, even though it is Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. Now, the weather might be a factor, and I would be lying if I wasn't a little nervous about a Florida team playing in Green Bay. But you have to remember, this is Tom Brady. He's both experienced in the weather, but people are forgetting that this guy is an incredible leader. I have to think that he'll have his team ready to play in these conditions, motivated to play in these conditions, and prove people wrong that they can play in these conditions. And if you don't feel confident about either team straight up, either side straight up, why not do a teaser? I would just go Buffalo, Tampa Bay, tease that up, and that might be the best way to play on Championship Sunday. I hope you guys enjoyed another week of best bets. I can't wait to see who we have in the Super Bowl to break that game down. If you want more in-depth breakdowns of these games than I already did here, then check out the individual game previews on the channel. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to spike that like button and subscribe for more Bottom Line View. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.